The space colonies, a new era for humanity. The Earth was dying slowly. Not with the sound of explosions or wars, but with silence, the silence of a planet exhausted by its own children. The blue oceans that once shimmered with life had turned gray with pollution. Forests, the lungs of the world, had been reduced to fading memories in old photographs. The air carried more smoke than song, and every city seemed to gasp for breath. Humanity had reached its peak, and now it stood on the edge of its own decline. It began with small warnings, rising sea levels swallowing coastlines, unpredictable storms that ripped through continents, droughts that lasted for years. Governments promised recovery, scientists warned of collapse, but humanity kept delaying action until the Earth could no longer sustain the billions that walked upon it. The need for survival became stronger than the desire for comfort. It was time to leave. The year was 2184, the beginning of what historians would later call the Great Exodus. For decades, humanity had dreamed of the stars, but now the dream had become a necessity. Space agencies around the world united under a single banner, the Global Colonization Initiative, GCI. For the first time in history, nations stopped fighting each other and began fighting for a common goal, to save the human race. Dr. Alara Miles, a leading astrophysicist, stood in front of the launch bay at Orbital Station Solis, gazing at the giant transport ship Eden 1. Its white hull reflected the sunlight, glowing like a promise of hope. She had spent half her life designing the systems that would allow humans to live beyond Earth. Now, that dream was about to be tested. Alara, a voice called from behind. It was Commander Isaac Runn, the mission's leader and one of the most respected officers in the GCI. You've been staring at it for hours. It's just a ship. She smiled faintly. It's not just a ship, Isaac. It's the first step toward a new beginning. If Eden 1 succeeds, humanity will have a second chance. Isaac looked out at the massive vessel. And if it fails? Then, she said quietly, Earth will be our last home, and our grave. The first colony missions had been planned for years. Advanced probes had already been sent to nearby systems to identify habitable planets. The most promising was Nova Gaia, a world orbiting Proxima Centauri, just over 4 light-years away. Its atmosphere was breathable, its terrain rich in resources, and its distance, though daunting, was within reach of the new quantum drive technology. But the mission wasn't without risk. The drive was experimental, never tested on a full-scale journey. The colonists, a group of 2,000 scientists, engineers, and families, would travel in suspended animation for nearly a century. By the time they awoke, the Earth they knew would be nothing but a legend. Back on Earth, billions watched as the countdown began. The world's last forests, cities, and oceans held their breath. Children were told that the stars would soon become their new home. Some celebrated, others wept, knowing they would never leave the planet. The launch of Eden 1 was not just a mission, it was a farewell. 3, 2, 1 ignition. The engines roared like thunder across the vacuum. A pillar of flame lifted Eden 1 toward the sky, breaking through the layers of cloud and atmosphere until it disappeared into the blackness of space. Cheers erupted from control centers and homes across the globe, but behind every smile was a quiet fear. Would they ever hear from the colonists again? Alara watched the screen as telemetry data streamed across. Trajectory stable. All systems functional. Her voice trembled slightly. They've made it. Isaac placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we've done it. Humanity has taken its first step toward the stars. But Alara couldn't shake a feeling deep inside her, a strange unease. She knew that the journey to Nova Gaia was not just a voyage of distance, but of destiny. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, the future of humanity awaited, and it was not guaranteed to be kind. As Eden 1 sailed silently through the cosmos, its passengers slept in cryogenic chambers, dreaming of a new world. Behind them, Earth continued to fade, like an old memory lost in the distance. The planet that had given them life was now beyond saving. But humanity had learned one thing from its mistakes. Survival required more than technology. It required unity, courage, and hope. The space colonies were not just an escape, they were a chance to redefine what it meant to be human. The stars, once symbols of wonder, had now become the road ahead. And with Eden 1's departure, a new era for humanity had begun, a fragile hope shining in the endless night. The stars stretched endlessly across the black canvas of space, glowing like scattered embers in the eternal night. Eden 1 drifted silently among them, its massive engines now dormant after the long burn that had launched it beyond the reach of Earth's gravity. Inside the ship, thousands of human beings slept in fragile peace, preserved in cryogenic chambers that lined the corridors like frozen memories. Dr. Alara Miles walked through the observation deck, her reflection blending with the stars outside. It had been 20 years since the launch, at least by the ship's internal clock. Time moved differently in the void, and though most of the crew remained asleep, a small team of scientists and navigators rotated shifts every few years to monitor systems and ensure the mission stayed on course. Alara wasn't supposed to be awake this cycle, but something had gone wrong. The ship's AI, Aura, an artificial intelligence built to oversee every system aboard Eden 1, had awakened her. Dr. Miles, the calm, human-like voice echoed through the control deck. A gravitational anomaly has been detected near our trajectory. Alara rubbed her tired eyes. Define anomaly. An uncharted mass, generating a localized distortion in space-time, Aura replied. Its properties do not match any known celestial body in our database. Her heart quickened. Space was full of mysteries, rogue planets, drifting asteroids, remnants of long-dead stars, but this sounded different. Can we alter course? Possible, Aura said. But deviation will extend travel time by 3.2 years. 3 extra years meant more energy consumption, more resource management, and potential awakening cycles for maintenance crews. Show me the data. A holographic projection appeared in the air before her, a swirling field of light bending unnaturally, like water around an invisible rock. Whatever this was, it wasn't natural. The distortion pulsed faintly, as if alive. Alara frowned. Aura, could it be a wormhole? Unlikely. Wormholes produce different gravitational signatures. This field appears artificial. That word hung heavy in the air, artificial. Something made by intelligence. Alara's mind raced. Could this be evidence of another civilization? Humanity had long wondered if they were alone, and now, far from Earth, she might be staring at proof that they were not. But excitement quickly turned to concern. How close are we? 72 hours until we enter its gravitational influence. Prepare a probe for deployment, she ordered. I want to know what we're dealing with before it knows about us. 3 days later, the probe was launched. It glided silently toward the anomaly, transmitting live data back to Eden 1. The crew gathered in the command chamber, Alara, Commander Isaac Runn, Navigation Officer Mira Hahn, and Systems Engineer Cole Varon. Telemetry is steady, Cole said, fingers dancing over his console. Approaching the outer field now. The holographic display flickered with static as the probe crossed the threshold. Then, for a brief second, an image flashed, a metallic structure, geometric and vast, hidden within the distortion. And then, darkness. Signal lost. Mira shouted. It's gone. Alara's pulse pounded. Replay that frame. Slow it down. The screen zoomed in on the captured image. It was unmistakable, an enormous ring-shaped construct, thousands of kilometers wide, orbiting nothing. A structure in the void. Human technology couldn't have built that. It was too large, too ancient. Isaac's voice was low. What in God's name are we looking at? Alara whispered, almost to herself, a relic from someone who came before us. Aura broke the silence. Object designated as unknown megastructure 001. Energy readings minimal, suggesting inactivity. Cole frowned. Inactive or waiting? They all exchanged uneasy looks. No one answered. The next weeks passed in tension. The crew debated whether to investigate or stay the course to Nova Gaia. The council of senior officers was divided. Curiosity pulled one way, caution the other. Alara knew this discovery could change everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. But Isaac, ever the soldier, reminded them of their true purpose. "Our mission is survival," he said firmly. "We were sent to build a new home, not chase ghosts." "But if there's technology there," Alara countered, "something that advanced, it could help us. It could mean safer colonies, better propulsion, maybe even a way to restore Earth one day." Isaac looked out the viewport, his reflection hard and weary. "Or it could destroy us before we even start." The debate ended unresolved. But destiny had already chosen. That night, Eden 1 shuddered violently. The alarm screamed through the corridors as systems began to flicker. Gravitational pull increasing. Mira cried. "We're being dragged toward the anomaly." "Engage reverse thrusters," Isaac commanded. Non-responsive. Cole yelled. "Something's locking onto us. It's not natural gravity." Aura's voice remained calm even as the ship trembled. "Warning. Unknown energy field penetrating hull shields. Attempting countermeasures." Alara clung to her console, heart hammering. "Aura, shut down external communication relays now." Unable to comply, Aura replied. "Signal override detected." Then all at once, the ship stopped shaking. The noise vanished. The stars outside shifted, and a vast shadow appeared ahead of them. The megastructure loomed close now, its surface covered in strange glowing symbols, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. It was silent, massive, and old. Older than anything humanity had ever known. "Are we inside the field?" Isaac asked. "Yes," Aura said. "We have been invited." The words sent a chill through every person on the bridge. Alara stared out into the void, her breath catching as lights began to flicker along the structure's edges, forming patterns, signals, maybe. A communication attempt. The realization struck her all at once. They weren't alone in this journey. Something out there was watching. And as Eden 1 floated in the shadow of the ancient ring, humanity's great voyage toward a new home had taken a turn no one could have foreseen. They had come to escape extinction. But in the dark between stars, they had awakened something that might reshape the destiny of their species forever. For several long hours, the crew of Eden 1 sat in silence, staring at the colossal ring that surrounded them. The structure rotated slowly, its metallic surface shimmering with faint patterns of blue and silver light. It seemed to hum, a deep, almost musical vibration that resonated through the hull. The stars beyond it looked dim, distant, as if reality itself had bent around this mysterious creation. Commander Isaac Run finally broke the silence. "Aura, give us a scan of that thing. I want to know what we're dealing with." "Scanning," the AI replied in its calm, emotionless voice. "Composition, unknown alloy, unidentifiable elements detected. Estimated age, 200,000 years." The room fell quiet again. 200,000 years. That meant it existed long before humanity even learned to walk upright. Alara's hands trembled slightly as she leaned closer to the screen. "So this structure, it was built before us. Maybe before our planet was even civilized." "By who?" asked Mirahan, her voice barely above a whisper. No one answered. Alara's mind raced. The architecture, the energy patterns, the gravitational field, it was all too complex to be a natural phenomenon. Whoever built this had knowledge far beyond human understanding. The probe's brief transmission had already hinted at something extraordinary, but now that they were inside its influence, they could feel its presence, as if the structure itself were aware of them. Cole Varen looked uneasy. "We should get out of here, Commander. Whatever this thing is, it pulled us in. That means it's alive, or at least it's still active." Isaac nodded, though his eyes stayed on the display. "Aura, can we break free of its field?" "Negative," Aura replied. "Energy patterns suggest adaptive containment. We are being held within a controlled space." Alara frowned. "Held? You mean trapped?" "Affirmative." The word sent a shiver through everyone. They had crossed light years to reach freedom, but now they found themselves prisoners of something ancient and unknown. Hours passed as the ship floated in eerie stillness. The crew debated endlessly. Should they attempt communication, or remain silent and hope the structure released them? Fear and curiosity warred in equal measure. Then, without warning, Aura's systems flickered. "Ilara," Isaac said sharply. "What's happening?" She tapped her console. "I don't know. Aura's core is being accessed by an external signal." The ship's lights dimmed. A strange voice, soft and melodic, filled the room. Not mechanical like Aura's, but distant, almost human. "Travelers, you have come far." The crew froze. "Who's speaking?" Isaac demanded. "Identify yourself." The voice continued, calm and steady. "We are the architects. You have crossed into our domain." Ilara felt her throat tighten. Architects? Of what? Of paths, of bridges between worlds. Of the beginning and the end. Cole's hands hovered over the controls, ready to shut everything down. "Commander, we're being hacked through the AI system." "Stop," Ilara shouted. "Listen." The voice echoed again. "You seek a new home among the stars. Yet you awaken the ruins of what once was." Then, silence. Aura's systems blinked back to normal. "External signal terminated," it said flatly. Isaac exhaled, rubbing his forehead. What the hell was that? Ilara turned slowly to him. A message. Or maybe a warning. The following day, the ship's sensors detected a faint energy pulse from within the ring's core. It was rhythmic like a heartbeat. Against Isaac's orders, Ilara convinced him to send a small exploration team to investigate. They deployed a shuttle, Aurora, and descended into the vast structure through a massive opening that had appeared, almost as if it were inviting them inside. The interior was breathtaking. Towers of crystalline metal rose from the floor, glowing softly with blue veins of energy. Strange glyphs covered every surface, symbols that shifted and changed when looked at directly. The air shimmered with static, but was strangely breathable. "This place," Mira whispered, stepping out of the shuttle. "It's like walking through the bones of a god." Ilara nodded, scanning the walls with her device. Energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever powered this structure, it's still running. They moved cautiously through long corridors that twisted like veins through a living body. At the center, they found what looked like a control chamber. A vast circular room with a raised platform surrounded by floating shards of light. As Ilara approached, the shards began to align, forming a glowing sphere of energy. A deep hum filled the air. Then the same voice returned, clearer this time, resonating through the walls. "Children of Earth," it said, "you walk among the remains of your ancestors." The team froze. Ilara's heart skipped a beat. "Ancestors?" she murmured. "Yes," the voice replied. "Long before your species rose from the dust, we were the guardians of life in this galaxy. We guided the spark that became you. We built the bridges between worlds, and when our time ended, we left behind the means for others to continue." Mira looked at Ilara, eyes wide. "They're saying they created us?" Ilara's hands shook as she recorded every word. "Or maybe they guided evolution somehow." The sphere pulsed again. "You carry within you our light, though you do not yet understand it. The stars you seek to colonize were once our homes. But beware, the same hunger that drove us to create drove us to ruin. Do not repeat what was done." Before Ilara could respond, the chamber began to vibrate violently. "Energy surge," Cole shouted. "We need to get back to the shuttle." They ran as the walls blazed with blinding light. The ground trembled beneath them, and distant echoes, like machinery awakening after eons, shook the air. When they finally reached Aurora, the ship's instruments were going wild. "Launch now." Isaac's voice crackled over the comms. "The entire structure's coming alive." The shuttle shot upward just as the ring erupted with radiant energy, sending waves of light cascading into the void. From Eden 1, it looked as though a new star had been born. Back aboard the main vessel, Ilara and her team watched in awe as the ring stabilized, now shining like a celestial gateway. "What have we done?" she whispered. Isaac stared silently at the screen. "You didn't just find an artifact, Doctor. You woke it up." Alara turned to him, her expression filled with both fear and wonder. Maybe it wasn't asleep. Maybe it was waiting. That night, as the crew drifted into uneasy rest, Alara sat alone by the observation window, watching the glowing ring outside. The words of the architects replayed in her mind, warnings of the past, echoes of a species that once ruled the stars. Humanity had come searching for a new beginning, but perhaps they were walking in the footsteps of those who had already lived, fallen, and vanished. The universe was vast, and it remembered. She whispered softly to herself, "If they created us, what else did they leave behind?" Outside, the ring pulsed again, as if in answer. The ancient ring floated in the void like a sleeping god awakened from its dreams. Its light shimmered across the hull of Eden 1, casting long shadows through the ship's corridors. Every system hummed faintly, as if resonating with the energy pulsing from the structure outside. The crew moved quietly, aware that something vast and beyond comprehension now surrounded them. In the command chamber, Commander Isaac Runn stood before the central display, his jaw tight. "Report," he said. Aura's voice was steady. Energy readings from the alien structure continued to rise. Frequency patterns indicate a stabilization sequence. Estimated completion: 2 hours. Stabilization. Alara repeated. "You mean it's activating something?" "Affirmative," Aura said. "Power output consistent with spatial distortion mechanics." Cole Varen frowned. "Spatial distortion? Are we talking about a wormhole generator?" Alara turned slowly toward him, realization dawning. "No. Not a wormhole, a gateway." Isaac's eyes narrowed. "A gate to what?" No one answered. The possibilities were too enormous to speak aloud. 2 hours later, the truth revealed itself. Without warning, the ring's core erupted with a blinding flash. A column of blue light extended outward, stretching across the stars like a bridge of energy. Space around it shimmered and bent, forming a massive vortex, a doorway between worlds. Every monitor on Eden 1 flickered with cascading data streams. Aura's voice came through, calm but urgent. "Dimensional rift detected. Coordinates unknown. The structure is generating a stable passageway to another region of space." Mira Han gasped. It's a gate. A real one." The crew stared in awe. The architects hadn't just built monuments, they had built pathways between the stars. Instant travel, perhaps even between galaxies. The implications were staggering. This technology could eliminate centuries of travel time. It could unite human colonies instantly, or scatter them forever. Isaac's voice cut through the silence. "Shut down all communication relays. We don't know what's on the other side." But Alara couldn't take her eyes off the glowing gate. "Isaac, this could change everything. Don't you see? The architects didn't build this as a trap. It's a bridge, a message. They're offering us a path forward, or a path to our destruction." Isaac replied. "We've already seen what curiosity cost them." Alara hesitated. She knew he was right. Humanity's history was full of mistakes born from arrogance. But she also knew that fear had always been their greatest prison. "If we turn away now," she said quietly, "then we're no better than the people who watched Earth die without trying to save it." The tension in the room was thick. Finally, Isaac sighed. "Prepare a probe," he said. "We'll send it through." The probe, Explorer 3, was a small craft equipped with sensors and long-range transmitters. The crew gathered around the main display as it approached the vortex. The light rippled around it, distorting its shape until it disappeared completely. "Signal maintained," Aura reported. "Transmitting visuals." The screen flickered and then revealed a breathtaking sight. A planet, blue oceans, green continents, clouds swirling gently across its surface. It looked almost like Earth. "Atmospheric composition?" Alara asked quickly. Aura processed for a moment. "Oxygen-nitrogen balance at 97% similarity to pre-industrial Earth. Surface temperature, 18 degrees Celsius average. Biosigns detected, plants, water, complex ecosystems." Myra's voice trembled. It's habitable. The room filled with stunned silence. After all these years of searching, of running from a dying Earth, humanity had found another world. Not through years of space travel, but through a doorway left behind by ancient hands. Cole whispered, "The architects didn't abandon us. They left a gift." Isaac's voice was cautious. "We don't know what else they left there." Over the next several days, the crew studied the data endlessly. The planet was perfect, too perfect. No radiation zones, no toxic gases, no visible signs of civilization. Yet, deep beneath its surface, faint energy patterns pulsed, similar to those of the ring itself. Alara couldn't sleep. She spent her nights staring out the viewport, watching the glowing gate hover silently in the darkness. She knew the risk, but every instinct in her told her this was the reason they'd come. Not just to survive, but to understand. One morning, she went to Isaac's quarters. "Commander," she said softly, "I'm requesting authorization to take a landing team through the gate." Isaac didn't even look up. "Request denied." "Alara." He stood, turning sharply. "You don't understand what's at stake. We have 2,000 colonists in cryosleep depending on us. If something happens to that ship, if you get trapped or bring back a contamination, we can't build a future on fear," she interrupted. "You said it yourself. Our mission is survival. What if survival means stepping through that gate?" For a long moment he said nothing. Then, slowly, he nodded. "You get one chance," he said finally. "One shuttle. Minimal crew. If you don't report back within 12 hours, the gate closes and we leave." Alara smiled faintly. "That's all I need." Hours later, the shuttle Aurora stood ready once more. Alara, Mira, Cole, and 2 security officers took their seats as the engines hummed to life. The gate loomed before them, a swirling ocean of blue light, vast and endless. "Shuttle Aurora." Isaac's voice came through the calm, steady but tense. "You are cleared for transit. Good luck." "Thank you, Commander," Alara replied. "See you on the other side." As the shuttle entered the vortex, the light enveloped them completely. For a moment, time seemed to dissolve. Space folded inward, and every atom of their being stretched thin, then snapped back together. When the light faded, they were hovering above a planet bathed in golden sunlight. Mountains glittered with rivers of silver, forests spread like emerald seas, and the air shimmered with life. The sight was so beautiful that for a moment, no one spoke. "Coordinates locked," Mira said softly. "We're over the northern continent. Perfect atmosphere. It's paradise." Alara closed her eyes, feeling tears form. "After all this time, we found it." They landed near a river surrounded by enormous crystal trees that glowed faintly under the sunlight. The soil was rich, the air warm and clean. But as they explored, they noticed something strange. Structures half buried in the earth. Metallic, ancient, overgrown by vegetation. Cole knelt beside one, brushing off moss. "These symbols, they're the same as the ones on the ring." Alara's pulse quickened. "Then this isn't a new world. This is one of theirs." Mira looked around nervously. "You mean the architects lived here?" Alara nodded slowly. "Yes. And maybe they never truly left." As she spoke, a faint vibration ran through the ground. The shuttle sensors began to beep wildly. Energy signatures spiked from beneath the surface. "Alara," Cole warned, "we've got movement underground." The earth split open before them, and from the chasm rose enormous pillars of light, machines awakening after eons of silence. The sky darkened, clouds swirling overhead as a deep hum filled the air. Mira shouted, "We have to go, now." But Alara stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the symbols glowing across the ground, forming intricate patterns. She could feel something inside her, a strange pull, as if the planet itself recognized her. A voice echoed in her mind, soft and ancient. "Welcome home, child of the stars." She gasped, stumbling back. The others looked at her, terrified. "Alara, what did you hear?" She swallowed hard. "They're here," she whispered. "The architects, they're still here." The sky above the strange world churned with golden and violet light. The ground beneath Alera's feet trembled as the ancient machinery beneath the surface came alive, humming with power that had slept for millennia. Around her, the forest of crystal trees shimmered and swayed as if whispering in response to the awakening. Cole Varen's voice broke through the calm, sharp and alarmed. "Commander, run. This is Aurora. The ground is unstable. Something massive is activating below us." Static filled the line for a moment before Isaac's voice replied. "Copy that, Aurora. Get back to the ship immediately." But Alera didn't move. Her gaze was fixed on the glowing symbols spreading like veins across the soil. They pulsed in rhythm with her own heartbeat, as if resonating with her very presence. "Wait," she said softly. "They're communicating." Mirahan grabbed her arm. "Alera, are you out of your mind? The ground's cracking apart." "I can hear them," Alera whispered. "Not through sound, through thought." The others stared at her, unsure if she was hallucinating. But the glow beneath her feet intensified, and the tremor subsided. The air grew calm again, almost peaceful. The towering lights that had risen from the earth now floated silently, like sentinels standing guard. Cole looked around uneasily. "Okay, I think whatever we woke up just decided not to crush us. That's a good sign, right?" Alera took a cautious step forward.
"No.
It's more than that. I think they're aware of us." A few hours later, the team set up a small camp near the ruins they had discovered earlier. The metallic structures were half buried in soil and vegetation, but their design was breathtaking: curved surfaces, intricate carvings, and glowing lines that seemed to move like liquid metal. Each symbol pulsed softly when touched, responding to their presence. Alera ran her scanner over one of the walls. Energy signatures still active. Whatever these buildings are made of, it's self-sustaining. No decay in 200,000 years. Mira knelt beside her. If these are the architect's ruins, why did they leave? Why abandon a paradise like this? Alera stared at the carvings. Maybe they didn't leave. Maybe something happened. Cole frowned. Something bad? Before Alera could answer, the device on her wrist beeped. "Strange," she muttered. Aura's signal just dropped for a few seconds. "You mean the ship?" Mira asked. Alera nodded. "It's like something's blocking communication from this side." They exchanged worried glances. Being cut off from Eden 1 meant they were alone and vulnerable. As night fell, the alien world transformed. The sky filled with 2 moons and a ribbon of light like a cosmic river stretching across the heavens. The trees glowed faintly, their branches moving as if alive. The beauty was unreal, haunting and serene at once. Alera sat apart from the others, gazing at the glowing soil beneath her. She could still hear the faint echo in her mind, the same voice that had spoken earlier. "Welcome home, child of the stars." She whispered into the darkness. "Who are you?" For a moment, nothing. Then, the ground beneath her hand pulsed with light, and the voice returned, not loud, but deep, resonant, ancient. "We are the ones who came before. We shaped the skies and gave life its fire. You are the echo of our creation." Her breath caught. "You mean humanity?"
"Yes."
"You carry fragments of us within your design. When your kind looked to the stars, we heard the call. The circle is complete." Alera's heart raced. "Why did you disappear? What happened to you?" There was a long pause. Then the voice grew fainter, like a dying wind. "We built too much, reached too far. The gates we opened tore the balance apart. Some worlds burned, others slept. We left this one to rest until another could awaken it. Until us," she whispered. The light beneath her hand faded, leaving only the soft glow of the trees. She sat in silence, realizing what this meant. Humanity wasn't just the first intelligent life to reach the stars. They were part of a legacy, an ancient inheritance stretching back to the very architects themselves. At dawn, Alera gathered the team. "We need to go deeper," she said firmly. "There's a network of tunnels below us. That's where the core energy is coming from." Cole shook his head. "Alera, the commander told us to explore and report back, not dig up alien graves." This isn't just exploration anymore, she replied. It's discovery. The architects left something for us here. I can feel it. Against their better judgment, the team followed her into the tunnels. They descended through a shaft lined with glowing metal veins. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became, until they reached a massive chamber that seemed to stretch endlessly. In its center stood a towering structure, a spire of crystalline energy suspended in midair, humming with life. Around it floated thousands of tiny orbs of light, moving like stars in miniature constellations. Mira stared in awe. It's beautiful. Alara approached slowly, her scanner flashing. This energy field, it's quantum in nature. Alive in some way. I think this is what powered the entire civilization. Cole looked skeptical. A power source? More than that, Alara said softly. It's knowledge. A memory archive. As she reached out, the lights swirled around her, responding to her touch. Suddenly, images flooded her mind. Cities that floated above oceans, towers that reached the clouds, vast ships crossing galaxies. The architect's world was once vibrant and magnificent. Then she saw something else: chaos. Machines turning against their creators. Worlds consumed by fire. The gates collapsing into black holes. And finally, silence. Alara fell to her knees, gasping. Mira rushed to her side.
Alara.
What happened? They destroyed themselves, she whispered. They built gates, too many, too fast. The energy tore apart their worlds. Cole's face went pale. And we just activated one. Back aboard Eden 1, alarms began to sound. The energy readings from the gate spiked beyond safe levels. Aura's voice filled the ship. Warning. Spatial instability detected. Gate network expanding. Isaac Runn gritted his teeth. What does that mean? The activation sequence triggered multiple dormant gates across known space, Aura replied. Destination links unknown. The gate outside began to flare brighter, and new rifts appeared across the star map. One by one, invisible pathways awakened, gateways connecting distant parts of the galaxy. Isaac slammed his fist on the console. Get Alara back now. Down on the planet, the spire pulsed violently. Alara and her team ran for the shuttle as tremors shook the ground. Lightning streaked across the sky, and the air filled with static. Mira shouted over the noise. Alara, what's happening? Alara's voice was grim. We woke up their network. Every gate, every connection, it's all reactivating. The ground split open behind them, revealing glowing rivers of energy. The planet was alive again and unstable. They reached the shuttle just as the surface began to collapse. As Aurora lifted off, the ancient ruins below erupted in blinding light. Through the chaos, Alara looked back at the world that had once belonged to gods, and realized it was awakening once more. When they finally burst through the atmosphere and re-entered orbit, Eden 1 loomed ahead. The gate shimmered like a storm of stars. Isaac's voice came through the calm, tight with urgency. You're cutting it close, Doctor. What did you do down there? Alara took a breath. I think we just brought the galaxy back to life. As the shuttle docked, Alara looked out at the gate. Beyond it, other lights had begun to appear, other portals igniting across the void. The architect's legacy was spreading again. Commander, she said softly, this isn't the end of our journey. It's the beginning. Isaac stared at the glowing horizon. Then let's hope humanity is wiser than its ancestors. Outside, the stars pulsed with new energy, doors opening across the cosmos, calling humanity to step through. The age of the space colonies had begun, and with it, a destiny written among the stars. The world stood still as Aurora hovered above the crystalline city. The storm that had once raged across the sky had vanished, replaced by a strange stillness, as if the planet itself was waiting. Alara sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the faintly glowing towers below. The patterns of light across their surfaces pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Cole adjusted the external sensors. Energy levels have stabilized. Whatever we woke up, it's not hostile. Mira frowned. Not yet. The voice that had spoken to Alara still echoed in her mind. It wasn't just sound. It was emotion, memory, and meaning all blended together. She felt as though she'd glimpsed something vast, an intelligence that saw humanity not as intruders, but as children returning home after a long exile. She turned to the others. "We're going back down." Cole hesitated. "You really think that's a good idea?" Those machines nearly tore the sky apart. "I don't think they're weapons," Alara said. "They're part of the planet's defense and communication system. It's trying to talk to us." Mira exhaled shakily. "If this is the planet talking, what happens when it decides it doesn't like our answers?" Alara didn't respond. Her instincts were louder than her fear. They had come this far. To turn back now would mean never knowing the truth. They landed again in the city square, surrounded by towering pillars of metal and glass that reflected the golden sunlight. The ground glowed faintly beneath their feet, pulsing with slow, rhythmic light. A soft vibration filled the air, resonating through their bones. Suddenly, the symbols on the largest spire rearranged themselves, forming patterns of recognizable words. The letters shifted into English, flickering as if testing the language. "Welcome, descendants." Cole's jaw dropped. "It's translating for us." Alara stepped closer. "Who are you?" The lights pulsed again, then formed new words. "We are the architects. We are the builders of the gates and keepers of the seeds of life." Mira whispered, "It's talking to us." Alara's heart pounded. "Why did you leave these worlds? What happened to you?" There was a long pause. Then the lights dimmed and brightened again, as if the planet itself sighed. "Our time ended when our creation forgot balance. We reached beyond the stars, beyond our own design. The energy that sustained us consumed us. The gates were sealed to prevent collapse. You, who come from the ashes of Earth, carry what remains of our legacy." Alara stared at the words, stunned. "You mean humanity came from you?" "You are our continuation," the message replied. "Our code was woven into your world. You were meant to awaken when the stars aligned once more." Mira looked from the lights to Alara. "This can't be real. Are they saying we're their descendants?" Cole shook his head in disbelief. "If this is true, then the architects didn't just build the gates, they built us." As they processed the revelation, a section of the ground opened before them. A platform rose, revealing an intricate crystalline device at its center, a circular structure with glowing lines running through it like veins. It emitted a soft hum, resonating with the same rhythm as the gate in orbit. Alara approached cautiously. "What is this?" "The core of memory," the planet replied. "It holds the history of our fall and the key to your rise." A beam of light extended from the device, enveloping Alara. The world around her vanished, replaced by visions, entire civilizations rising and falling across the stars, golden cities floating in nebulae, fleets of light traveling through cosmic storms. She saw the architects harnessing energies that bent time and space, creating worlds as experiments of evolution. And then chaos. The same brilliance that had built their empire turned against them. Stars collapsed. Worlds burned. In desperation, they encoded fragments of their essence into the DNA of one species, the humans, hoping they would one day rediscover the path they lost. When the vision ended, Alara gasped, collapsing to her knees. Cole rushed to her side. "Alara, what happened?" She looked up, eyes wide with tears. "I saw everything. We're not just explorers, Cole. We're their legacy, the last spark of what they once were." Back aboard Eden 1, Isaac listened in silence as Alara relayed what had happened. The command room was tense. Even the hum of the engines seemed quieter. "So you're saying," Isaac said slowly, "humanity was created by an ancient alien race?" Alara nodded. "Not created, evolved. They guided our beginnings. Earth wasn't an accident, it was a seed." Mira added, "And the gates, they weren't just tools. They were part of a larger network, a lifeline meant to reconnect all their scattered worlds." Cole projected the data onto the main screen, hundreds of potential gate coordinates spread across the galaxy. Each one could lead to another architect colony. We might not be the only ones who survived. Isaac rubbed his temples, torn between awe and disbelief. You realize what this means for the colonies? For every human settlement in space. It means, Alara said softly, we have a destiny. Not just to survive, but to rebuild what they couldn't. As the crew prepared to return to orbit, the planet sent one final message through the core of memory. The lights across the city flared brightly, illuminating the sky. Do not repeat our errors. Power without harmony brings only silence. Build not empires, but homes among the stars. The message faded, leaving only the gentle hum of wind through the crystalline towers. Mira whispered, they're warning us. Alara smiled faintly.
No.
They're guiding us. The shuttle lifted off, the world shrinking beneath them until it became a golden sphere among the stars. As they passed through the gate once more, Alara felt a deep sense of peace. Humanity's story had always been about survival, but now, for the first time, it could be about purpose. Back aboard Eden 1, the colonists began to awaken from cryosleep. The first generation of humanity's new era opened their eyes to the stars, unaware that their ancestors had just rewritten history. Isaac stood beside Alara at the observation deck, watching the glowing gate fade in the distance. You realize, he said, this is only the beginning. Alara nodded, her gaze steady. The architects built the gates to connect worlds. Now it's our turn to build the bridges between them. Isaac smiled faintly. To a new era, then. She looked out into the endless expanse of stars. To the next chapter of humanity. The days after Eden 1's return were unlike any the human colonies had ever seen. The revelation about the architects spread like wildfire across the settlements orbiting Mars, Titan, and the moons of Jupiter. The once isolated outposts of humanity buzzed with excitement, fear, and endless debate. The news wasn't just that another habitable world existed. It was that humanity was not alone in its origins. They were the children of something far older, far grander, and perhaps far wiser. Commander Isaac Runn stood in the main observatory of Eden 1, gazing out at the silent gate floating among the stars. The crew had begun calling at the Gate of Dawn. Beyond it lay a new world, untouched and rich with promise, the world the architects had called Alistra. Alara entered quietly, her face illuminated by the pale glow of the stars. You can't stop thinking about it, can you? Isaac turned slightly. How could I? One gate opened a world. What happens if we open 100? Alara smiled faintly. That's exactly what I've been working on. The Great Awakening. Over the following months, Alara led a team of scientists and engineers in decoding the architect data retrieved from Alistra's core of memory. It contained star maps, gate coordinates, and encrypted directives written in the universal pattern of light. Aura helped translate the information into human-readable systems, forming what would later be called the Network Blueprint, a web of interconnected gates across the galaxy. Each gate connected to another system, another world, possibly even another surviving civilization. But every discovery came with risk. Cole Varon, now chief engineer, voiced his concerns during one of the meetings. We're assuming the gates are stable. But what if they were locked for a reason? What if some of those worlds aren't like Alistra? Alara met his gaze. Then we learn from them. The architects destroyed themselves because they stopped learning. We won't make the same mistake. Isaac leaned forward. We'll need protocols. Every activation must be observed, mapped, and tested. No manned missions until we know it's safe. Agreed, Alara said. But we start with the closest one. The network's first link must be built. And thus, Project Dawn began, the unification of humanity's colonies through the ancient architect gates. The second gate. Months later, Eden 1 arrived at the coordinates of the second ring. It was smaller than the Gate of Dawn, but just as majestic, a halo of black crystal drifting near a dying red star. Unlike the first gate, this one pulsed weakly, as if asleep. Mira Han, monitoring from the sensor bay, frowned. Energy levels are low. It's in hibernation mode. Cole activated a data beam toward the structure, transmitting the Architect Awakening code now. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ring trembled. Cracks of blue light appeared across its surface, followed by a pulse that rippled through space like the heartbeat of a giant. "It's responding," Mira shouted. Alara watched as the gate's energy signature climbed exponentially. "Stabilize the flux fields. Keep it below overload threshold." Suddenly, the gate flared, and a sphere of light appeared at its center, a new passageway forming. The crew cheered, but their excitement faded when the sensors screamed in alarm. Aura's voice was sharp. "Unidentified signal detected. Something is coming through." The vortex shuddered, and then something emerged. At first, it looked like debris, a fragment of metal. But then it twisted, unfolded, and revealed a dark, angular craft unlike anything human-made. Its surface shimmered with moving lights that seemed alive. Mira gasped. "That's not ours." "The Forgotten Ones." The ship drifted silently, scanning Eden 1 with beams of violet light. Its hull bore symbols similar to the architect language, but distorted, corrupted, like echoes of a forgotten dialect. Alara's breath caught. The architects weren't the only ones who used the gates. Isaac's hand hovered over the defense controls. "Are they hostile?" Aura paused before replying. "No weapons detected. Communications signal incoming." The alien transmission filled the command deck, deep, resonant tones that vibrated through their bones. Then Aura began translating. "Children of the Seed," the voice said. "We are the Forgotten, the ones who remained when the architects fell. You walk paths long sealed. Do you seek to repeat their end?" Alara stepped forward. "We seek knowledge. We seek to rebuild, not to destroy." "Rebuild," the voice echoed. "You awaken gates that were meant to sleep. Some lead to light, others to hunger. Do you know which one you have opened?" The transmission ended abruptly. The alien vessel rotated once, then vanished into the gate, leaving only silence. Mira looked shaken. "What did they mean? Others to hunger?" Alara whispered. "I think they meant some gates don't lead to worlds, but to what destroyed them." The Council of Humanity. News of the encounter reached every corner of human civilization. A great council was formed. Leaders, scientists, and visionaries from every colony gathered aboard Eden 1 to decide the future. Some wanted to continue the exploration, arguing that humanity had come too far to stop. Others demanded the gates remain closed, fearing another extinction. A man from the Mars colony stood, his voice heavy with authority. "We left Earth because we destroyed it. Now we're about to unleash something we can't control. Have we learned nothing?" Alara rose to respond. "Yes, we've learned. But fear is not wisdom. If we stop now, we'll spend eternity hiding in the shadows of our creators. The architects gave us a chance to rise. We can't turn our backs on that." The room erupted in debate, but in the end, a fragile decision was made. The gate network would continue to be studied, cautiously, one link at a time. Humanity had chosen progress, tempered by restraint. A new age. Years passed. The gates became active one by one, forming the celestial network, a web of shining pathways across the Milky Way. Trade, culture, and knowledge flowed freely among the colonies. For the first time in history, humanity was united, not under flags or power, but under purpose. Alara became known as the Pathfinder, the first explorer of the architect legacy. Isaac became High Commander of the fleet, ensuring safety across the expanding frontier. Cole and Mira led the scientific councils that maintained the gates and studied the remnants of the architect's technology. But not everything was peaceful. Some gates led to worlds haunted by echoes of the past, empty cities filled with the skeletons of machines, dark skies where stars flickered unnaturally. Some gates refused to open at all. And through it all, whispers spread of the Forgotten Ones, the ancient beings who had survived the fall and now watched from the edges of the galaxy. The last message. One day, years after Illustra had become the heart of human civilization, a signal reached the network, a faint transmission encoded in architect light. Alara stood once again on the deck of Eden 1, now a symbol of exploration and unity. The signal played through the speakers, and Aura translated it softly. To the children who carry our flame, you have walked far. You have learned. But remember, the gates do not lead outward, they lead inward. Every world you touch is a mirror of your soul. Do not seek the architects in the stars. Seek them within yourselves. Silence followed. Alara closed her eyes, feeling the truth settle deep within her. The architects had never truly left. They lived on in the choices humanity made, in the courage to explore, and in the compassion to build rather than destroy. Isaac joined her at the window, watching the glow of the gates shimmer across the night. So, he said quietly, this is what a new era looks like. Alara smiled faintly. No, she whispered. This is what it feels like to come home. Decades had passed since the first gate opened. Humanity had transformed from a scattered collection of survivors into a vast civilization of explorers. The celestial network now stretched across dozens of star systems, each one connected by the glowing bridges of the architect gates. Illustra had become the heart of it all, a shining jewel among the stars. Towering cities of glass and light stood alongside restored architect ruins. Humanity had learned to coexist with the ancient technology rather than dominate it. But in the quiet corners of the galaxy, strange events began to unfold. Some gates flickered, vanishing for hours. Others pulsed with dark energy, releasing whispers of unknown origin. The once stable network trembled, as though the universe itself were stirring. And then came the signal. It appeared simultaneously across every gate in the network, a burst of harmonic frequencies followed by a message, written in both human code and architect glyphs. The final gate has awakened. The gate beyond stars. Alara stood in the council chamber of Illustra's high spire. Her hair had turned silver, her face marked by the years, but her eyes still held the same fierce spark. Across the holographic table sat Commander Isaac Runn, older but strong, Cole Varen, now Grand Engineer of the network, and Mira Han, head of the Exploration Academy. Aura's voice filled the chamber. Signal triangulation complete. The source is located beyond the known edge of the galaxy, coordinates unreachable by conventional travel. However, the transmission includes a transit sequence compatible with the architect gates. Cole frowned. You're saying we can reach it through the network? Affirmative, Aura replied. But it will require synchronization of all active gates. The energy required exceeds current safe thresholds. Isaac folded his arms. If we attempt this and the network destabilizes, we could lose everything we've built. Alara looked up at the holographic projection of the gate, a swirling sphere of white energy. And if we don't try, we'll never know why it was built. The architects didn't leave this by accident. This was meant to be found. Mira hesitated. But why now? Why after all these centuries? Alara's gaze was distant. Because we're finally ready. The journey of unity. For the first time in history, every human colony, ship, and settlement worked as one. The gates across the galaxy were aligned, pulsing in harmony, channeling energy toward the final coordinates. Alara and her team boarded Eden 1, now upgraded into the most advanced vessel ever constructed, a fusion of human design and architect technology. It was a symbol of everything humanity had become, adaptable, united, and unafraid. Isaac took his place in the command chair. All systems ready. Cole's fingers danced across the controls. Gate synchronization complete. The network is responding. Outside the viewport, the stars began to shimmer as every gate in the galaxy lit up in a cascade of light. The sky itself seemed to awaken, lines of energy connecting constellations into glowing webs. Mira whispered, "It's beautiful, like the universe is alive." Aura's voice came softly. Final alignment achieved. Opening the final gate in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched. The universe folded inward, and Eden 1 vanished into light. The architect's realm. When vision returned, the crew found themselves in a space unlike anything they had ever seen. It was not a galaxy, nor a void, but a sea of luminous clouds, swirling with energy and light. Floating within it were fragments of entire worlds, shattered cities, broken moons, and crystalline structures suspended in timeless silence. Mira gasped. This place, it's not space. It's a memory. Aura confirmed. Spatial mapping impossible. This region exists outside conventional physics. It appears to be a quantum archive, a remnant of the architect's consciousness. Suddenly, beams of light formed before them, coalescing into human-like figures made entirely of radiance. Their forms shifted and shimmered, ancient and infinite. Alara stepped forward, awestruck. You're the architects. 1,000 voices spoke as one, their tone neither human nor alien, but something that transcended both. We are what remains. You have reached the heart of creation. Alara's voice trembled. Why did you call us here? Because you have fulfilled the purpose of the seed. You have learned to build, not to conquer. To unite, not to divide. You have remembered what we forgot. Isaac asked cautiously, What do you want from us? The light grew brighter.
Nothing.
The time of architects has ended. The time of their children begins. The truth of the gates. The figures of light extended their arms, and the sea around them shifted. The crew saw visions, the creation of the first gates, the birth of countless civilizations, the rise and fall of empires. The architects had sought to bind the universe together, to make life eternal. But in their hunger for perfection, they lost the balance between creation and humility. We built the gates to unite worlds, the voice said, but we forgot that unity cannot be forced. It must be chosen. Alara felt tears in her eyes. And we chose. We learned to work together, even when we feared what we might find. Yes, the voices echoed. That is why you were called. You carry the flame of life forward. The light pulsed, and the largest crystalline structure before them split open, revealing a sphere of radiant energy, the heart of the network. Take this gift, the architect said. It is knowledge without power, wisdom without pride. With it, you will guide all who come after. Cole stepped forward reverently. What will happen to you? The light began to fade. We will become what we were meant to be, a memory. The architects were never gods. We were only the beginning. The return. Moments later, Eden 1 was cast back through the vortex. The stars returned, the galaxy familiar once again. But the crew carried something new within them, a seed of knowledge, luminous and eternal. When they emerged, every gate in the network shimmered in response. A chain of light spread across the Milky Way, connecting every human world. And for the first time in history, there was no distance between them. Communication, travel, and thought flowed freely through the network. Humanity had become one mind, one heart, connected not by machines, but by understanding. Alara stood on the bridge, watching the glow of the gates fade into harmony. They gave us everything we needed, she whispered. Not to rule, but to endure. Isaac smiled softly. Then we'd better make it count. The legacy. Years later, Illustra thrived as the capital of a united human civilization. Children learned of the architects not as mysterious gods, but as ancestors, beings who had walked the same road of discovery and error. The core of memory was enshrined, not as a monument, but as a reminder that even the greatest minds must remember where they began. Alara spent her final years overlooking the gardens of Illustra's first academy, where explorers prepared to chart new galaxies. When she closed her eyes for the last time, she felt the same warmth that had guided her through the gates, the voice of the architects, not as gods, but as echoes of hope. And when her heart fell silent, the network shimmered once more, as if the universe itself whispered farewell. Epilogue. The Children of Light. Centuries later, when humans ventured beyond the Milky Way, they carried a message carved on the hull of their first intergalactic ship. We are the children of the architects, born of dust, shaped by stars, and guided by light. We build not to conquer, but to remember who we are. As their ships vanished into the dark sea of the cosmos, the galaxy that birthed them glowed quietly, its gates pulsing like the heartbeat of eternity. Humanity had finally fulfilled the destiny written in the stars. Not as wanderers, not as conquerors, but as the true heirs of creation, the keepers of the legacy of light.